Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday night. Doing a Tuesday night stream here. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for tuning into my channel. I really appreciate it. If you've never been here before, please do me a favor, hit that like, the thumbs up, and subscribe button and the bell so you get notifications. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. And remember, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the like, hit the notifications. So you're always tuning in when I do these lives. And if you're watching on replay, thank you so much for watching on replay. I love it when I go back and see all the comments of everybody watching on replay. I have a lot of comments to get through on the last live. I got kind of crazy busy with work over at Law and Crime the last few days. So I apologize. I haven't gotten through all of the comments, but I will do that. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the last live because it was really successful and we got a lot of views, and trying to grow my little channel here, and we're growing, each time growing a little more. So I really appreciate it. And tell your friends about it and share the link and spread the word. So there is something going on in the Bryan Kohberger case. Something is going on. Something's cooking behind the scenes. And, they're back to sealing everything. We don't like those sealed documents. We don't like it when they're sealing records. We know that they want to start jury selection on August 4th. The defense doesn't want that to happen, but we'll see what's going to happen next week. But I'm going to tell you why I think something's cooking behind the scenes and something's going on. But first, I want to say hi to everybody. And I want to welcome some people before we really get into that, because I love welcoming everybody in. And look who is in the house, Tiffany Souza. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for the super sticker. That's so generous. Oh, sorry, I'm not able to keep... I keep hitting the wrong button, keep clicking and not clicking and doing everything. Tiffany Souza is in the house, the wonderful Tiffany Souza. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you so much. So it's very generous. Appreciate that. So Tiffany Souza is in the house. I saw somebody, Truth and Justice, True Crime with Anna is here. Welcome. I also saw that we had somebody from New Zealand here. So I thought that was super exciting. So I'm scrolling back up through the comments to get to that person, because I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I don't know if we've ever had a New Zealand viewer in the house before, but I thought that was really exciting. The other night we had people from a bunch of states. I went through all of the states where we had people tuning in from. And so that was super cool. So I appreciate so many people from across the country tuning in. We also had somebody from Australia in the house. So let me look in here and see. I want to bring those people up. Webby thinks there's something big going on. I think there's something big going on in the Kohberger case too. And I'm going to get to that in just a second. We got 65 people here tuning in. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Just so you know, I'm here live right now. But later tonight, I'm going to be on the Drunk Turkey show. So you might want to tune in over there too. So I'll be talking over there with Daniel. I've never been over there before. So that should be interesting. I'm looking for the New Zealand person. Hi, Holly. I see Holly here. I see Leslie and Billy. CH is in the house. I'm trying to put everybody's tuning in from New Zealand. Nikki, thank you so much, Nikki, for tuning in from New Zealand. I really appreciate that. That's so cool. And then there were some other people here as well. I thought I saw in Australia. Thank you, Tiffany. Tiffany says, congrats on the growth, well-deserved. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, slowly but surely, we're chugging along. We're growing here, and it's exciting. Hi, A. Heineman. Yes, Nikki. Yes, I'm finally catching up on the chats, or on the chats on everything. Here we have somebody from UK, PRW Photo, watching from the UK. Normally a member of the replay squad, wanted to stay up and catch Anjanette live. You are so sweet. That's super sweet. Thank you so much. I wish I had given a little more notice to everybody, but it kind of is one of those things that the documents posted, and I thought I better get on there and talk to everybody. Psychosaurus Rex in the house from California, just like T. Souza. So this is cool. So guys, I want to tell you, first of all, let's talk about how the state's opposition to the defense request for a continuance has finally posted. Now, before I get into what exactly the state has said, other than we don't agree with the defense, we need to do this trial, I'll get into more of what they said and what is going on behind the scenes. I believe there's something cooking, something big. I want to just take a moment to show the reason why we are all here. And there they are: Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. And Maddie's birthday just recently passed in May. It was Maddie May Day, and I should have posted about that. I meant to post about that. And I think it was Kaylee's birthday had just, if I'm misspeaking, I apologize. I might be mixing something up. But I thought that Kaylee's birthday had just happened too. So we are here for all 4 of these young people. And just, I think about it sometimes, how horrible it was, what happened to them. And no person and no family should ever have to go through what their families have been through. So let's look a little bit. Let's look at a little bit of the state's response to the defense's motion for a continuance. Ann Taylor filed a 40-page motion a few weeks back, just saying, look, Judge, and she'd been working on this for a while, and then the Dateline special dropped in her lap, and she kind of slid a section of that into her brief, but you knew she had been working on this for a while. This was a 40-page indexed brief, and she went through all of the reasons, citing case law about why they just need more time. She feels like this has been completely rushed. She's trying to get together this trial, 4 homicide victims, mountains of discovery, getting together all of these expert witnesses to do a trial in August. It will be 3 years in November. November 13th is the anniversary of the homicide. So that will mark the 3-year anniversary of this crime. And so she got the case in early January of 2022, right after he was arrested. They basically reached out to her and said, hey, you're death penalty qualified. You want this case? And she said, sure, I'll take it. And so she's had the case since then. The state says, well, we've given you all the discovery. You have everything we have, and that's it. And, we don't know what you're complaining about. And she just feels like she's been rushed and needs more time to work on this stuff. So here's the prosecution's response to the defense. And the prosecution basically is saying, let's do it. We're ready to go. April or August 4th. Let's do this. Let's do jury selection. Let's get this jury selected in 7 days, or it would not be 7 days. It would be 5 days, which I think is stunning, that they think they're going to select a jury starting Monday, August 4th, and that they'll have this jury, a death qualified jury, that they're going to have this sorted out by the following Monday for opening statements on August 11th. I'm like, what? I mean, I know it's a bigger county. But it always adds a layer of complexity to the process. And maybe it's just because Judge Hippler he's got some process down. They've got questionnaires. The questionnaires are under lock and key. To my knowledge, nobody has leaked the questionnaires to anybody. They're taking this very seriously, and they're doing things so they can automatically weed out the people who shouldn't be on the jury. They're not even letting us have a blank copy of the questionnaire, which is unusual. Like in other big cases, I've gotten a copy of the blank questionnaire. They're like, nah, baby, nah, you're not getting anything. So the state basically responded to the defense and said, it is time to try this case. Defendant was arrested in late December of 2022 and was indicted in May of 2023. He successfully moved to transfer venue to Ada County. In October 2024, this court entered its scheduling order, setting deadlines for pretrial motions and expert disclosures. Defendant complied with those deadlines without moving for a continuance, including by disclosing 6 expert reports for the penalty phase, disclosing over 2,100 pages of purported mitigation materials. listing 55 penalty phase witnesses and identifying 132 exhibits he may introduce during the penalty phase of trial. But now, after all discovery deadlines have passed and after the court conducted the pretrial conference, defendant seeks a trial continuance of unspecified length. He bases his request on his claim that his mitigation investigation is incomplete, while the state is unable to see whether the defendant's ex parte filing to the court. Ex parte means they submitted something for the judge's eyes only. The state doesn't get to see it. So they've apparently given something to the judge where they've given the judge something to support their position. They've given him something that contains specifics that his motion does not. That is got my ears perked up. Defendant has not shared what new evidentiary materials he seeks to obtain or how additional investigation will actually produce them. Overall, the record before the court shows that the defendant's investigation has already plowed the necessary ground. Well, of course, like the prosecutor's like, yeah, like you've got what you need. Let's do this. Obviously, the defense has gone to the judge and said, here, look at this. This is what we want you to look at this. And they have the right to do that. The prosecution has the right to do stuff, submit an ex parte thing too. But they've obviously supplied something to the judge that maybe is of interest to the judge. Maybe it's having the judge think about this and second guess things. While the defendant is fully entitled to do, and when I say second guess things, I mean possibly the trial date being in August. While defendant is fully entitled to due process, this court should exercise its broad discretion to deny defendant's 11th hour motion. I mean, the defense has been signaling for eons, for months, that they're not ready. I mean, she said it at the April hearing. So, and he said stuff like, you need to hire more paralegals. Have you done that? This, that, and the other. So it is what it is. He kind of like wasn't having it at all, but now maybe he's having second thoughts. You never know. That's what I'm wondering based on the tone and the tenor of this motion or this opposition. First, defendant cannot show good cause or prejudice. Even under the heightened non-binding ABA standards he seeks to impose on the court, his counsel's resources and investigation to date have been adequate, even setting aside that the defense team still has more time to prepare its mitigation case. Moreover, Idaho's constitution also grants the victims the right to a timely disposition of this case. The court should give these victims' rights substantial weight in considering the motion. Finally, while the publicity surrounding this trial is a challenge, defendant has not shown and cannot show that continuing this trial will make things any easier. It is just as likely that delay will make it harder to seat a jury. I found that interesting. So let's do a little search for Dateline in here. I'm wondering what you guys think of this so far. Hello, Von Krull. Good evening. CH says, it is taking someone's life. Would think that should give the judge pause. Yeah, I mean, if they delay maybe a few months, I mean, this is a death penalty case. So if they're able to show the judge something saying we need further time to investigate this, you know. Johnny Knoxville says enough delaying. If they want leaks to stop, have the trial. So let's go on to a little more of what was said, and then we will talk about. I'm going to show you why I think something more is going on than just this. There's something more going on behind the scenes. And as I said, they're all back to sealing things. Truth and Justice True Crime with Anna D says they need to have a continuance because if they do not, it's going to end up in a retrial because of Bryan's constitutional rights. Yeah, I mean, I would think you would want to err on the side of caution. This is a big case and it's a death penalty case. Ann Taylor had said in her filing something to the effect of death is different. She was quoting case law. And I would think that she's right. Death is different. So let's look at what the prosecution had to say about Dateline. Remember, the judge thinks the Dateline leak came from the law enforcement side of things, the state side. There is no doubt that the publicity surrounding the case, including but not limited to a recent Dateline TV show containing non-public evidence, poses challenges for the court and both parties. The state reaffirms its commitment to comply with the court's non-dissemination order to do everything in its power to prevent leaks. The state reaffirms its commitment to comply with the non-dissemination order. Well, somebody, no matter whether somebody has violated it already. So, they're committed to doing everything in their power to prevent leaks and to assist in determining which person or persons provide it. Oh, they're committed to assist in determining which person or persons provided non-public information to Dateline. However, defendant's reliance on the Dateline episode to support his motion is misplaced for several reasons. First, the question of whether defendant can receive a fair trial is not answered by the amount of and the nature of pre-trial publicity. Rather, it depends on whether a fair and impartial jury can be seated. And they quote the U.S. Supreme Court to hold that the mere existence of any preconceived notion as to the guilt or innocence of an accused without more is sufficient to rebut the presumption of a prospective juror's impartiality would be to establish an impossible standard. It is sufficient if the juror can lay aside his impression or opinion and render a verdict based on the evidence presented in court. So they're saying it's all about whether or not a person can set aside any bias. And then they talk about here the court's carefully crafted jury selection process has every chance to produce an impartial jury. Because of the sensitive nature of the court's voir dire procedures, the state will not address the mechanics of jury selection in this public filing. But suffice it to say, if an individual has been so impacted by the Dateline episode or any other publicity that they cannot be impartial, they will not be seated as a juror. Indeed, this case is not the Ada County Judiciary's first experience with a highly publicized trial in recent years. Like the court in the Vallow Daybell trial, this court is well equipped to select a jury to handle ongoing media coverage and to conduct a fair trial in the Ada County courthouse. I would argue that this case eclipses the Vallow Daybell trials. For as horrific as those crimes were, awful, I think in terms of publicity, this case trumps Vallow and Daybell. Barna, I think there's no argument there. I think that's somewhat disingenuous. This case, I think, has received far more coverage than Vallow and Daybell, even though that case received a tremendous amount of coverage as well. That's just my feeling on it. How do you guys feel? Titanium Built says they will be able to find a jury. He's not that important. I mean, the case is important. It's been all over, but also I don't know. I don't know how closely people in the Boise, Idaho area, I know that it's been covered a lot in the media there, but I don't know how closely people in Boise follow the media. I guess we're going to find out, right? During jury selection. Crime Dog says, and the master manipulator. Titanium Built says we had 5 years, though, with the Vallow trial. True. Marco Benavides says most of the Dateline stuff was not even groundbreaking. It was stuff that is already out there in the public. Yeah, but some of it was, but a lot of it was stuff that was not public. And we don't even know if we don't even know if the judge We don't know if some of it was inadmissible, if they would even going to be, we don't know if the judge is even going to allow some of it at trial. Messica says, I think it will be harder to find a jury than it was for Daybell's. I agree 100%. I think it will be much more difficult to seat a jury in this case than it will be for the Daybell cases. And I think they're about to find that out. I truly, truly believe that. The case, I just don't think the coverage was the same. I really don't. I really, really don't, because you had missing children in that case. It was during COVID. So COVID, you had that as an added factor, because I remember I was like anchoring the Saturday morning news in January of 2020 when the kids, every Saturday morning we would run something on the kids being missing. And we would run like a CBS News package or whatever. And they were looking for the kids, trying to find the kids, maybe it was even December or, it was December. It was during COVID though. It was at the beginning of COVID, because we would always have a COVID Wuhan lab type story. And then Lori was in court or something. I remember, because I'd be like, God, this story is weird. Like, of course this lady knows where her kids are. Like, of course she knows where they are. Like, she's in Hawaii. And like, it was very weird. So, but you had COVID over that. So that's drowning out, to me, any other coverage. Was the whole like you move into lockdown with COVID. That to me was drowning out all other news. So I think 100% it will be much harder to find a jury. This was like the coverage on this was much broader, more broad and widespread, because for 6 weeks they're looking for somebody, and it was this, they're trying to figure it out. CH says the second DP case is very different. Escaped convicted killer, killed another in the process of escaping, protect their constitutional rights, but pretty much a slam dunk done deal. I might be missing what you're talking about. Yeah, Messica agrees it's wider coverage for Kohberger. I agree 100%. And more continuous, like a lot, it's been ongoing. So, this is interesting. Tara says, interesting though, Anjanette Levy, Daybell case got a lot of coverage here in Australia when her children went missing. Nothing about Idaho. That's very interesting. Yeah, I could see that. I'm sure there was a lot because they were missing children. Oh, I see. So yeah, you're right. That case is kind of a slam dunk. The Skylar Mead case. I mean, there are no questions there, to me. They could probably, to me, that case could probably be resolved with a plea to get him LWOP, a life without parole. Horrible case. Horrible case. But she seems to like to try to get deals for life without parole. So let's see what else they say about the Dateline. The Idaho Supreme Court has rejected defendants' theory that a continuance is necessary to allow media coverage to dissipate. However, as stated above, there is every indication that an impartial jury was impaneled and that federally received a fair trial. That's the federally case they're citing. As the court correctly noted at the pretrial conference, delaying this trial will only allow more opportunities for pretrial publicity. There is no reason to think that media coverage in this case will dissipate. So proceeding to trial as scheduled may actually avoid any negative consequences from future publicity. Now, keep in mind, the James Patterson book is coming out July 14th or 16th, right before jury selection starts. Defendants' dissipation cases occurred in the 1960s and involved communities where it was presumed or demonstrated that residents had already formed opinions about the case based on local media reports. Here, venue has already been moved, and the court will use a much larger pool of potential jurors than in the cases defendant cites. This case is also proceeding in a highly fractured media landscape that bears little resemblance to what prevailed in the 60s. What happened in defendants' cited cases has no bearing on whether the courts can select the sufficient number of impartial jurors in this case. The court should deny defendant's motion because he has not shown that the publicity surrounding this case will prevent a fair trial. So, yeah, that's wild. So they're saying, yeah, they're not buying it. Yes, it's a more fractured media landscape, but there's more media and more opportunities to listen and more places to find information. So I want to show you guys now why I think there's more going on behind the scenes. And there's a lot of stuff that's still not posted, unfortunately, to the public docket. It took several days for the opposition filed by the prosecution to post to the public docket, unfortunately. So as you'll see here, on June 5th, that was last Thursday, the opposition to defendant's motion, what I just kind of went through with you, the opposition to continue was filed. It didn't post until today. That's why I'm coming on live with you now. Then, yeah, I don't know where Tayo Toys is. I don't know where Tayo Toys is. I would like to know. Then there was an objection, which was sealed. Now, remember, there's a hearing on June 18th, next week, and it will be the defendant's offer of proof, re alternate perpetrators, that they want to say, we've got an offer of proof, alternate perpetrators. We want to point the finger at these people. So the state filed an objection to that, and it was sealed. That was on last Friday. Okay. So you see the little locked thing there, sealed. And it was also in support of the defendant's offer of proof for the alternate perpetrator. This is where it gets interesting. Also sealed was a motion for independent analysis of evidence. That has not posted yet. It's sealed, but the order sealing it has not posted. The defense has sought analysis of evidence, independent analysis of evidence. What is that evidence? We don't know because this is sealed. So something's going on behind the scenes, as I just said. And they don't want the public, us, to know what they're having analyzed. So this was filed last Friday. This was the motion for independent analysis of evidence. Same day, sealed, stipulated motion, meaning an agreement to the admission of additional exhibits as evidence at trial. So they've got some type of agreement about additional evidence at trial. Oh, it's Tayo. Oh, hi, Tayo Toys. Hi there. It's okay. At least you're here. Better late than never. So just to catch people up if you're joining, and please, if you're just joining, please hit the thumbs up on the way in. Subscribe if you haven't, and hit the bell. And if you're watching on replay, thank you for watching on replay. I love that. So what we've got going on, we've got a motion filed last Friday for independent analysis of evidence. So let's move past the stipulation about the exhibits because I don't think that's that interesting. Same day, sealed motion to seal defendant's motion and order for emergency order. What? So they've got a sealed motion to seal defendant's motion and order for emergency order. For what? because we already know the same day they've got this motion for independent analysis of evidence. So what is going on here? Von Kroll said, this will be coming up in Tayo Toy's performance review. I already had a talk with him about this. His TPS reports yesterday. Hysterical. You guys are a hoot. You guys, do you think, like me, something's going on? I have a hard time thinking this is about DNA. How on earth is this about DNA this late in the game? That if this is about DNA, that sheath, let me get the sheath. Oh gosh, where is the sheath? Is it here? Oh, I've misplaced the sheath. Goodness me. And I don't, okay, guys, I'm not going to get up and leave you alone, but I've misplaced the sheath. That sheath should have been like the number one thing, like spring of 2022. Oh, Bill Thompson. Hey, Bill. Bill, it's Ann. Yeah, the sheath. Okay, we need you guys to help us out. We got to have that thing tested. Yeah, we need to have it tested. We need to have that analyzed. Yep, we got an expert. Yep, we got an expert. Right. Okay. So we're going to arrange that. Right. Okay. They wouldn't even need a motion for that. That is very common that you would have your own expert look at stuff. I don't think you would need a motion for that. So then I start thinking, okay, there's all this fighting going on. There's all this fighting going on about the alternate perpetrator stuff. The state is saying to the judge, don't let them do that. Do not, whatever they're telling you is nonsense. Do not let them point the finger. Some other dude did it defense. They're full of it. Whatever. They haven't shown you enough evidence. Even Judge Hippler said, I need more than just speculation. So they were supposed to submit some stuff to him. The defense has filed an objection to that under seal, of course, because we're back to filing. Everything is under seal. And even when they argue about this at the hearing next Wednesday, June 18th, that will be a sealed hearing. The motion to continue, that's allowed in public. The other stuff, the alternate perpetrator stuff, sealed. I get that, because imagine in a case like this, you're going to be like, oh yeah, guess what? We're going to say Billy Bob and his pal Jimmy John, not like the sandwiches, carried out this crime. I mean, they can't do that in public. That would literally just be a disaster. It would be a nightmare. So part of me thinks, does this have anything to do potentially? Yes, it could be the sheath, but that should have been done eons ago. So that's totally dropping the ball if that hasn't been done. Could it have anything to do with the unknown DNA in the house? Is this about the alternate perpetrator evidence? They've talked about needing more time. We need more time. We need more time. We need more time to look into this. We came across a tip. Anne has said that in the past. We came across a tip that suggests an alternate suspect. So is it about that? I mean, because they've already said they weren't able to run this stuff through CODIS, or they didn't run it through CODIS for some reason, these DNA samples in the house. I don't know. This is all speculation, but something is cooking behind the scenes. Do you guys agree? Something's cooking. Jeremy Boudreau, why would it take AT nearly 3 years to decide to have it tested? This unknown DNA is not new news, new to us, but not new to them. Well, they said they just recently got an explanation from the state about why that was never run down, that lead. So we had heard possibly it wasn't run through CODIS because it couldn't be, or it didn't have enough this or that to put in CODIS. Brett Payne said something like, oh, well, if we took Kohberger's profile out of CODIS, we couldn't submit the others. He said that in a sealed hearing. That to me made zero sense. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? You can't do more than one thing at once. Like, I could see maybe if the sample was too degraded to put in CODIS. I don't know. So I don't know. CH says they can only do that to one person. Are you talking about the CODIS? So something is definitely going on. So let's look at the second page. So then we have a sealed motion for an emergency order. What's the emergency order? We don't know because it's sealed. But there's an emergency order. What's the emergency? Is the emergency to get it done in time for trial? I don't know. So then we get a response on the same day, Friday, June 6th, D-Day. The state's response, RE defendant's motion for independent analysis of evidence. So then the same day, or I'm sorry, Monday, June 9th, order sealing state's objection to defendant's offer of proof, RE alternate perpetrators, and defendant's evidence in support of offer of proof, RE alternate perpetrators. So the state's objecting and saying, no, but it's all sealed. So we don't know what they're saying or who the defense is pointing the finger at. Same Monday, June 9th, a sealed order granting the defense expert analysis of evidence. So Judge Hippler said, okay, defense, you get your expert analysis of the evidence. So he's ordered it. And then he ordered it sealed. He ordered it sealed, so we don't see what it is. I want to know what it is. Judge Hippler was all for like not sealing stuff, and now he's back to sealing stuff. Please, Judge, let us have a peek under the hood. Okay. Now we've got an order sealed, an order conditionally denying admission of additional exhibits as evidence at trial after there was an order sealing stipulation and order for admission of additional exhibits. And then there's a sealed order sealing defendant's motion and order for an emergency order. What in the heck? Like what? So the defendant's motion and order for an emergency order has been sealed. And now we have a sealed order staying order. What? So let me pull this up. I read all this stuff. I was reading this and I was like, what in the heck is going on? There's something cooking behind the scenes. And it's like, what is going on? Hi, Ian Black. So let's look at this. This posted yesterday. The sealed order, staying order, dated June 9th is sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32 para G1 blah 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 blah. It's so ordered. Stephen Hippler. So it's a sealed order, staying order. When I hear stay, it makes me think. When I hear stay, it makes me think of staying proceedings, which I don't know if that's actually happening because everything's sealed. But you're sealing an order, staying order. Like what? So is there, I don't know if there's like an appeal going on, but something's going on behind the scenes. We know there's something being analyzed. There's evidence and testing, analyzed, something going on. We know there's this fight over third-party culprit stuff, alternate perpetrators, and there's evidence being analyzed. And there's a motion to continue on the table, and the state is not happy about it. So that's a lot. I just threw a lot at you guys. Webby says, the stay order is what has me convinced something big is going on. Right, but what is it? I'm like, what is it? And what? I'm like, yikes. Anon says it may be an emergency order for independent analysis of the other DNA. They can only look at it if no other suspect appears. Code is protocol. Okay, right. But why an emergency? We already know he granted the independent analysis. So why do we need an emergency order? Are you telling me that are you like suggesting, Anon? I just want to make sure I'm clear on what you're suggesting, that the emergency order may be potentially ordering the FBI to like put this other blood into CODIS? Is that what you're suggesting? That's what I'm wondering. I don't know. Can a judge do that? Is that what you're suggesting? And this whole staying sealed, there's a sealed order, staying order. And I'm like, what? Okay. So Anon thinks that that's correct. Anon thinks that possibly the judge, and this is all speculation, everybody, possibly that the judge has said, hey, FBI, put this blood into CODIS. Could you imagine? Oh my God. That would be quite the brouhaha. Now, if the sealed order, staying order, that would be interesting, because what if the prosecution then, and this is all speculation, was furious about that and then was like, okay, we're appealing this. So he's staying his order for the emergency order. And then the prosecutors are going to probably go do some appeal and say, no. You are not ordering the feds to do this. Guys, did we just crack this wide open, potentially? GF Twins says, can she still ask for a plea deal? Well, they can always ask for a plea deal, and the state can say, no, we're not doing that. Texas Ranger says, feds don't have to bow down to a state judge. Tony Stevenson says Kohberger isn't going for a plea deal. He's going for exoneration. Anon says, I think you got it. So I think it is potentially about that unknown male blood. And so something's going on. These are all just our thoughts, and I appreciate you, Anon, for saying that. That was a very interesting tidbit. Catherine Cox says they should free the poor kid ASAP. Dolphin 517 says those codes have to do with sealed documents in the grand jury, and Jeanette Levy. Right, but this has to, okay. Well, let me look that up. Crime Dog says, Anne says, watch as I baffle you with BS. Phil Morgan says, defense asked for grand jury transcripts and found out state witness is a convict that has a perjury conviction in his past. Whole case rides on the word of a convict. Okay, Phil, tell us more about that. Defense asked for grand jury. The defense should already have the grand jury transcripts, and it was my understanding they already did have the grand jury transcripts. These have been referenced many times in filings. Phil Morgan says defense asked for grand jury transcripts and found out state's witness is a convict that has a perjury conviction in his past. Whole case rides on the word of a convict. Okay. Well, Phil, you're going to have to tell me more about that. Hollis MGP, that's really interesting you brought this up. I think I'm going to do a live on this. Guys, would you be interested in me talking about that? Y'all don't forget that tonight on Peacock, 50 Cent has this new show, Gilgo Beach Murders, House of Secrets. Yeah, this is 50 Cent's documentary about the Gilgo Beach murders, and he interviewed Asa, Rex Heuermann's wife. I'm looking at more of your comments. Von Kroll says 50 Cent, the documentarian. Yes, 50 Cent, the documentarian and rapper. He does a lot of stuff. I did. Toya Toys says Anjanette just demonstrated how easy it is to lose your K-bar sheath. I lose my sheath all the time. It's here somewhere. Oh, I see it. Should I go get it? Should I go get it, guys? Catherine Cox says the judge is begging BK to take the plea, but why would an innocent man take the plea? Makes no sense. Well, we don't even know if a plea's been offered. He just said at the last hearing, um, that he wanted to know if there had been a last best final offer or whatever. And he wanted that by a certain date. Let me get the sheath, guys. Yeah, I agree. Can opener 68 says there's no plea deal. Families don't want it. So here's the sheath. I put it back in the plastic. So now I know where it is. It's here. So here's the sheath. Guys, I would be shocked unless they've got a new expert who's come out of the woodwork who has said, "Oh, I think I need to analyze that sheath and I can determine how that DNA ended up on the inner snap, this part of the snap." Maybe that's a possibility. That's always a possibility for that whole independent analysis, but I don't know. Kane B's The Purge. Guess what? My DNA is already on it. I'm fairly certain. CH says families don't have a say in it, do they? Not a lawyer. Well, I mean, they don't, not really. I mean, they have to be consulted. There are certain things that happen, but in a case like this, I would think they would want the family's approval of a plea agreement. Dolphin 517 says they do have the grand jury transcripts. That's how Anne was able to quote what Emily Allance's testimony was regarding how far inside the house she went. Right. I thought they had all the transcripts. Truth and Justice True Crime with Anna D says state rushed to solve this crime. They didn't do a lot of things correctly for there to be no connection, no DNA in Bryan's home, office, or car tells a lot. And I really think they have the wrong person. That's what Truth and Justice True Crime with Anna D says. Tony Stevenson says Kohberger didn't drop no damn sheath there. Get real. Phil Morgan says revenge murder because of confidential informants. Parents turned and Farley was involved in killing. Okay, so we're I don't want to talk about specific people, and I say that because I don't have enough to talk about those things. Texas Ranger, I highly doubt Anjanette is going to use that knife for anything. That's true, and I only have the sheath. I don't have the knife. Patty Dobbins says Kaylee just had her birthday. I said that earlier too. It's very sad. So guys, that's Tara says not all the families want the death penalty. That's interesting. See, Catherine, you're saying that it's impossible to be BK's sheath. It would be covered with his DNA. Not really. I mean, the defense, if you take the defense's point of view that he's OCD and he's always wearing gloves and stuff, and he's a clean freak, maybe it wouldn't have his DNA. I mean, so that cuts both ways. So guys, that's what I know right now. There's something going on, something cooking, independent analysis, an emergency order, an order staying the order, the sealed order staying the order. So something's happening behind the scenes. It appears people are not happy about it, or at least one side is not happy about it. So something's happening, and we will see what it is. I think we'll find out more in the days ahead. But I think something's definitely going on. We've got an fight over alternate perpetrator evidence, a sudden motion for emergency order, independent analysis of evidence, and jury selection is supposed to start at the end of next month or the beginning of August, I should say. So something is going on. We just have to figure out what. Tara says Xana's mother doesn't and Ethan's parents do not. I did not know that Ethan's parents were opposed to the death penalty. I was not aware of that. So it sounds like there's an even split, possibly. I don't know if Xana's father, what his feelings are on that. I'm just looking through more of your comments. So that's where we stand. I'll be looking into more of this. I'll be covering it on Crime Fix, all of everything that's going on. So there's a lot. And then there will be the hearing next Wednesday, June 18th. I've had to make sure I didn't mess up that date. Guys, who's interested in me doing memberships? I can get some cool badges. I can make some cool badges. I'm thinking about the A would be fun. And I just think it'd be cool if you guys would be interested in memberships. Von Kroll says the sooner they can get a jury seated, the better at this point. That's my read on it. Titanium Built said Ethan's parents also said they were going to go to trial, and now they were not going to go to trial. That's what they first said, and now they are. So they may change their mind, right? I don't know, Iborski. It's always possible. Would you be interested in that? Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I just thought I should hop on here for a little bit and talk about the latest news in this case. Please remember, thanks again for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe and the bell, and I'll keep you posted on anything new that pops up. There will probably be something that posts tomorrow. Maybe we'll get some sealed orders, staying orders, and sealed motions about stuff that we can't read. But we can certainly read into. So I will see you later. I'll probably be talking about some other things on here throughout the week, and we'll talk again soon. Been fun. Thank you to the mods, Webby and Mel Mack. I appreciate them always helping me out. So kind of them. And please leave a comment. Remember, thumbs up, if you've been watching on replay. I always appreciate that. And let me know what you think. And I'll see you back here next time. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care. Good night.